to me. Like it's a fucking beautiful thing.
It makes sense now. He must have been. Yes. ESTP and ISTP, are they really similar in that way? Like a
Um,
kingdom thing?
yeah. I think ESTP is more. I mean, they're the extrovert version of that. I'm sort of the lone wolf STP who people sort of want to follow around because I by myself am like a cool guy or whatever. Whereas ESTPs are more like they're less like lonerish and more like I guess social, I guess, or dynamic. I don't know.
Yeah, it was like super weird because he had friends that he was the king of,
Yeah.
which made no sense to me whatsoever.
What, that he was in the control of all these other dudes?
Yeah.
I feel like that sometimes. I like finding other dudes who were like equal because there's definitely hierarchies. It's like there's some guys who are just I will be submitting to them, and in those cases I leave because I refuse to be in that position. There's some people I'm above, and then I like finding people who I'm equal to, where we all fucking shit on each other and like it's all fine. Like we're all just like messing with each other. Like we're all like equals, you know?
Okay, so that's STP hierarchy.
Yeah, and that's why for beta types they want to find their equal match. Like I want to find an ENFJ who I'm equal to because I've talked to ENFJs who are lower than me, and they just end up getting insecure. And then I talk to ENFJs who are above me, and I get insecure. You gotta find the ENFJ who you're equally secure with. Where I'm slightly above the ENFJ because they want to be controlled. Like frankly, NFJs want to be controlled. That's why I didn't work out with you. I think with your boyfriend or whatever. I mean, he was probably just a controlling person in general, which is not good. But INFJs kind of like being controlled sometimes. I think.
Like being controlled.
Well, not necessarily like being controlled, but like they want to be directed. I think that's the better word. They don't want to be controlled. They want to be directed. Like, here's a thing we can do. Like, let's do this. Let's go do this. You know, like,
Yeah. What he said was that he liked that I didn't give a shit. Like I didn't feel like I was part of the kingdom hierarchy thing.
oh, probably because you just didn't notice.
Maybe.
Because you just don't have SE, like you have SE polar, so you're just like kingdoms. Like, what is this shit you're talking about?
No, but I can definitely see now that when you talk about it, I can tell which ones of his friends who belonged in the different slots and who he stopped
Yeah,
hanging out with for what reasons, because that's exactly what I observed.
some were better, some were lower.
Yeah, and he had like two guys who were equal
Yeah,
and a shit ton of subordinates.
yeah, that's definitely the case.
Yeah,
Um,
really weird.
it is kind of weird, isn't it? But it's
Yeah,
true.
the other thing that was kind of interesting was that because I was with him, they also were my subordinates.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely see that. Um, I mean,
I'm
each
not gonna lie,
quadrant.
I kind of liked it.
Yeah, you kind of liked it, right? I mean, I think as someone with SE, I can definitely tell. Like, I can see the dynamics of all this. I can see who's in control in a relationship. I can see when people are enjoying the relationship. You know, things like that. Like, it's just like sensing it. It's just like I think it has to do with your lower two functions are like unconscious or something. I don't know.
But that's kind of scary because I don't know SE, and now I start thinking like, can this guy totally read me or something?
What is SCFE and like any all this other stuff? TI is the other one.
You're
Um,
I don't know
INTP,
what all
so
this is.
SE, we don't know what that is.
so did you like just take the test and you got like INTP?
I get it every time. I don't. I've never researched all this other stuff
Okay.
though.
So you have four letters, right? INTP, and they stand for like
Yeah.
introvert, intuitive, thinker, perceiver. Actually, each of the 16 types has these things called functions. And these functions, you can think of them as like ways to view the world. Okay, so each type has 4 of these different ways to view the world, sort of. Whereas 1 is like the way they mostly view the world. Like INTPs mostly view the world through like logical categories. Like, does this make sense logically? Does this make sense logically? What if this thing happens? Would this make sense logically? And then they have extrovert intuition. So they're also doing like things like generating new ways of looking at the world, I guess you could say, and trying to see if these new ways of looking at the world make logical sense, I guess. But the point is that each type has a different like sort of structure to how they use these 8 different ways of viewing reality. So based on your type, these 8 different ways of viewing reality line up differently with like I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. Like one type's dominant way of looking at reality will be another type's way they don't look at reality at all, for example. Like some types don't look at the world through logical categories at all. They look at the world through like how it makes them feel, for example.
I couldn't even imagine that. Like, what's that like?
Yeah.
How are those people even alive? Like,
they just like fucking continue to do things that make them feel like good or something. You know?
I like doing things that make me feel good, but my whole world's not like, I don't process everything based on how it makes me feel. Like, no, it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it's fucking hard.
It's like trying to describe an imaginary color. I can't even put that into words.
Yeah, like I don't know how some humans' brains even work, you know? Like I mean, I see that I look out in my world and like perceive objects and shit. And I'm sure they do that too, but like what do they do after that?
Like, do they feel something special when they hear certain words or like look at certain things? And I just look at them like, that's a book. Like, that's where it ends, right there.
The type that you're talking about is probably the one that invented like trigger warning. Like they get triggered by words that evoke emotional responses. Whereas you and I, it's just like
Triggered.
Yeah, you can talk about fucking shooting up children, and I wouldn't give a fuck because
I'll probably laugh.
Yeah, it's just like fucking thing. It doesn't make me feel anything. It's just fucking shooting children. Like, it's a concept.
Or analyzing it if we're discussing some topic or like why it happened. I don't know.
Yeah. And there's all these different dynamics, like how there's one way you view there's one like call them functions, okay? There's one function that you suck at, but like you really want from other people. It's like INTP.
What's sensing?
Well, there's extrovert sensing and introvert sensing. Susan, do you want to talk about? I'm just gonna call you Susan.
That's fine.
Okay.
But a thought just struck me.
What?
Because you told me about you left because of Nick, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I asked you one rant. Does that make me part of your kingdom now? Is that how you see me? Wanna complain?
You joined the team. Welcome to the game.
You're in the inner fold of my kingdom where you fucking know that's what's fucking happening. You're part of my fucking kingdom. And Nick is our adversary.
I hope I'm not a subordinate at least.
No. That's what the ESTP does. I'm just an ISTP and I just fucking know that I have allies who I can fucking rant to when need be. But do you want to talk about SI versus SE? Because I really suck at explaining SI.
I don't understand SE. And I hate SI.
I guess the way I'd perceive SI is how things make you feel sensory based, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So what does this feel like? What does this sound like? What does this taste like? Okay. And so like introvert sensing is that. You with me still?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I still don't know your name, by the way.
Chris.
Chris. Okay. Extrovert sensing is not that at all. It's actually exerting force on the world. Like what happens if I fucking punch this cup? Like me, like extrovert sensing is literally me like punching this cup. It's fucking just like exerting force on the world, like picking this object up. You know, extrovert sensing is picking this object up. Introvert sensing is what does this object feel like when I pick it up? And so, for example, the ESTP is someone who is dominant in extrovert sensing. So ESTPs are constantly just like fucking doing shit in the real world, like skateboarding and fucking like motorcycle racing and shit. They're just constantly doing shit. Whereas ISTJs are the ones who use introvert sensing the most. So they just fucking set their lives up to be the most comfortable possible. Like they just set their entire lives up so that they can just like feel nice textures and listen to nice fucking sounds and then just never do anything except for enjoy these like sensory pleasures, you know?
Oh, so as an INTP, I am an introverted thinker, intuitive, and perceiver. Is that how that works?
So like let me just write all these.
All right.
You can look this up yourself, obviously, but
Yeah.
Sorry, that E at the end is supposed to be lowercase, but think of these keywords as 8 different functions. You have TI, TE, NI, NE. So like TI is introverted thinking. So that's like viewing the world in like logical categories. Like, it's like forming logical conclusions. Like people who walk on the sidewalk are good people. Like that is like a logical conclusion, you know? I don't think it's true, but that is a logical conclusion. So INTPs have that as their dominant function. They just go around making logical conclusions about the world. Oops. And then they have like extrovert intuition. They're just being like, what if someone didn't walk on the sidewalk? Well, and so they come up with like these possibilities, like these scenarios, like what if this happened? And then they fucking use introvert thinking to be like, well, then they'd be a bad person based on this logical conclusion or something like that.
And they'll die.
Yeah, they'll fucking die. Yeah, whatever. And then extrovert intuition is like the thing they use second best, okay? Like they use introvert thinking the most, and then they use extrovert intuition second most. Introvert sensing. This is like the thing they use the third most. They're not very good at it. But it's again like noticing how things feel and shit like that. And they don't do that often because they're often just in their heads thinking of random scenarios that don't actually exist in reality. And so they're just kind of out of reality sometimes. And then their like last function is extrovert feeling. And that's the thing they suck at doing themselves, but they like when other people give it to them. So like extrovert feeling is like raising their emotional state, like allowing them to feel like they can express their emotions candidly without feeling like it has to be logical.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you saw that in the fucking like hangout we were in like 2 hours ago. Mm-hmm. Like super emotionally charged, you know, like totally not logical at all, because it was total extrovert feeling, just like having fun and shit like that. Like that's what INTPs and ISTPs like, just shit like that, you know. But they're not always good at doing it themselves. Sometimes they just get too lost.
I can't initiate it.
Yeah, I can't initiate. Oh, I did actually initiate it, but it fucking took some courage to come in here and just be like, I'm fucking butthurt. But yeah, if I'm like by myself, I won't be doing that. I will be like fucking two